Don Poyer along with Jim Henrik on the shores of the Ohio River. As you see, the Atlas Van Lines did indeed get that engine changed in time for Heat 2A. Now, remember in our last race, Ron Snyder gave the Budweiser all he wanted. Jim Henrik is down in the pits now.
Well, Don, before the race, we had the masked marvel. Now we can see what he looks like. Pretty close out there.
Well, you know, Jim, the name of this game is to put a show on for the spectators that paid to get in here. So Cropfield and I both being Buckeyes, and since Atlas didn't come out and give us either one any threat, we thought we'd go out and have fun.
Well, don't say that too soon. She'll be back the next heat, maybe.
Well, okay, but we set off the exit pin on the last lap for the checkered. Go for it. So the only thing is he beat me to it, so next time it's my turn.
A drag race, Don. Back to you.
All right, here's your rundown for Heat 2A. The Squire Shop, a winner already today. Executone Telephones, American Speedy Printing, Raven Tires, and the Atlas Van Lines. Atlas Van Lines coming out wide on the course past the pits. Chip Hanauer looking back at the engine of that new turbine-powered boat, trying to indicate something to his crew as he goes by. He has the boat running. We'll simply have to wait and see. There's the Squire Shop preparing for the start here of Heat 2A. Mickey Raymond in the cockpit. Saw him earlier walking his dog back in the pits. Ron Snyder, American Speedy Printing. You see the yellow caution flag that is always up before the start of the race. And they'll work around that east turn now as all 5 boats prepare for the start. Executone Telephones nearest to the camera, right next to the Atlas Van Lines. Squire Shop on the inside. American Speedy Printing in lane number 2. There's the Atlas Van Lines in lane 3. The Executone, there he is going by George Johnson. Here's the start of Heat 2A. Coming down into the west turn, it's Mickey Riemann in lane number 1. American Speedy Printing and Ron Snyder in lane number 2. Atlas Van Lines backaways in lane number 3. George Johnson and the Executone in lane number 4 in third place as they go into that turn. The Squire Shop, Mickey Riemann once again in familiar territory, not only in lane number 1, but in first place. Mickey Riemann and the Squire Shop down the back chute. Second place, American Speedy Printing and Ron Snyder. There's the third place boat, George Johnson and the Executone Telephones with over 4 tons of water flying up into the air out of those rooster tails. Mickey Riemann, skid fin digging in, riding on that right spot as he comes around the east turn and comes around to complete lap number 1. Raymond is really turning it on. Mickey doing a great job of driving here in the first lap. Lap speed 128.6 miles per hour. Oh, he's moving. Here's George Johnson moving around the outside of American Speedy Printing on lap number 1. So the Executone Telephone running very well here in Heat 2A as you watch Raven Tires, Jerry Hopp the driver in that hole. Mickey Riemann out on that somewhat choppy water now on the west turn. The boat 3 years old, but new in the camp for Bob Style and Squire Shop. George Johnson, Executone Telephones. You see the big air intake above him, directly behind the cockpit. Oh, here's Atlas Van Lines coming back into the pits. Evidently something wrong again with that brand new boat. What a shame in their debut in competitive racing after setting a national course record of better than 140 miles per hour during qualifying. Here comes the lead boat, though, Mickey Riemann. Now calling Seattle his home as he's driving it home for Bob Stiles' Squire Shop, the Union-based Squire Shop. Speed for Mickey slowing down somewhat at 118 miles per hour. Executone, second place, George Johnson in a brand new Lucero design and built hull out of Seattle. George Johnson, one of the part owners for that boat. There's the third place boat, Ron Snyder, back a ways. He may have some problems, not driving quite as hard as he had earlier against the Budweiser. You see the Squire Shop again in the lead. Mickey Riemann in control. Going down the back chute, some of the drivers feel it's a little narrow out there in the back chute, but they love this course. Generally speaking, they all are very happy with it. Ron Snyder out of Piqua, Ohio. He likes it here, doesn't mind the dog leg down the main chute. Again, back to Mickey Riemann in first place. That boat qualified at better than 131 miles per hour. A very, very good boat. Had some spots and work done after the Miami race before New York, and it has performed admirably. That boat coming off a victory in Syracuse, New York just 2 weeks ago. Mickey Riemann in the Squire Shop. In second place, the Executone with George Johnson, the former offshore racer. Now riding the sponsons of that Lucero design unlimited hydroplane. Second place for the Executone Telephones. As I said earlier, George Johnson, one of about 8 people that have part ownership in this boat, so he knows what's at stake. He not only wants to race and to compete, but keep it together. George Johnson Third place on the left side of your screen, American Speedy Printing with Ron Snyder, and it appears, yes, that the Squire Shop with Mickey Riemann will lap him as they go down that back chute. And the shore very close to that back straightaway as you see the people, and I'll tell you, they're starting to get under some tarps. It's beginning to rain here in Evansville, Indiana, and rain pretty hard. Mickey Riemann in first place. He'll be glad to get back to the pits. Mickey Riemann to pick up another 400 points as winner of Heat 2A, 800 for the day. The Union Bay Squire Shop winning 2A. In second place, it'll be George Johnson in the Executone Telephones as he comes down. And boy, it's starting to pour here in Evansville, one of those typical Midwestern thunderstorms. As the heavens open up, it's time for some 85,000 people to try to find some cover here in Evansville. Here are the numbers now on 2A. Squire Shop now with 800 points, Executone Telephones, then American Speedy Printing, Raven Tires, and more problems for the new Atlas van lines did not finish. Whoa, I think it's time for Jim Hendrick and yours truly to find an umbrella. We'll be right back.
Jim Lucero, and of course the driver, Chip Hanauer. Bad luck. What happened?
We had a low oil of a light. We can monitor that on the motor, and Chip was sharp enough to recognize that we had a problem there. And so as soon as the thing came on and stayed on, says, hey, there's no sense in sacrificing a very expensive motor for one heat.
You know, Chip, you have to give credit to this crew. They change an engine quicker than I've seen anybody change an engine just to get you out there.
Particularly turbines. They do not change as easy as the Merlin or Griffin engines. So, yeah, they do it again. They're the best in the business.
That's the story for the pits, Don.
And you can bet your house that they'll be ready to go next week in Madison. Here's the rundown for 2B now. The Renault, the Budweiser, Grizzlies Express, and Chet's Music for Heat 2B. There you see Chet's Music, and now it's a great start by the Renault and Milner Irvin on the inside. The bright yellow boat with the black tail. In second place right now is Chet's Music. You see the Budweiser way back. Jim Croftswell's the driver there. They must have something wrong with the boat. Coming down into the west turn. On the right side is the Miss Renault and Milner Irvin with an absolutely fantastic start, as you saw. He's in a position that he likes very much, the inside, and of course in the lead. That's the west turn as they go down that narrow back chute. It's the straight chute of the two. Of course, the dog leg coming down the main straightaway. Miss Renault in first place with a large lead over the second place boat, Chet's Music, and Todd Yarling out of Madison, Indiana. Coming in now to the east turn is the Renault, only a 2-year-old boat entering its second year of competition. Milner Irvin in his second year with the Jerry Shanath team, sponsored by the Renault. Milner Irvin, an electrical contractor, by grade and completing the left number 1. Lap speed 120 miles per hour. Second place, Todd Yarling, Chet's Music Shop. Third place, Scotty Pierce out of Seattle, and the wild ride, Grizzlies Express. And fourth place, a surprising fourth place, the Budweiser with Jim Croftswell. Something wrong with that boat as they go down in fourth place, trying to save the parts and, of course, get into the final heat. But the Renault, owned by Jerry Shanath, what a marvelous man he is. What a colorful owner. Of course, he is donating all of the money raised by that boat to the National Arthritis Fund. Jerry Shanath has done a lot for this sport. Right now, his boat is in the lead in Heat 2B with a great shot at going into the finals, of course, if he can pick up some points here. That's a John Stoddicker designed hull. He built it himself out of Detroit, nearly all wood. And, of course, it's powered by an Allison turbo engine. They've had a lot of problems in the past couple of weeks, handling problems, engine problems, but they decided coming into this race in Evansville that they'll simply go back to the basics, go back to what works well for that boat. This boat also a John Stoddicker designed hull. The Chet's Music, the Budweiser, as you see, going past Grizzlies Express and Scott Pierce. The Bud working along and trying to pick up maybe some more points as they head for the final. I got to believe the Croftswell is simply saying we got engine problems, but as long as I keep running, I'll get enough points to go into the final of the day. The Budweiser moving into third place. Jim Croftswell in the Bud. And back to the leader, Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault. Crew chief Jim Kurth said, let's get back to the basics. They talked it over with owner Jerry Shanath, Milner Irvin the driver, and they have gone back to how it was set up at the beginning of the year, and it is performing much better now here in Evansville, Indiana, and on the bumpy Ohio River, as you see Jim Croftswell in the Budweiser come cruising by. He's in third place. But in first place is that man, Milner Irvin, an electrical contractor by trade, has been a driver since the mid-70s, Rookie of the Year one year, really considered to be one of the finest, most professional drivers on the tour. And he's holding on to first place now as he comes down the main chute. A little choppier than usual now after that rainstorm. Things are getting kicked up a little bit as the Renault comes screaming down that dog leg to the left, the main straightaway here in Evansville. Very quiet engine, isn't it? You can tell. Uh-oh, looks like the Jets music shop is slowing down. Todd Yarding, oh my, there's the Budweiser now screaming into second place. Jim Cropfeld in the Bud moving up slowly now into second place behind this boat, Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault. Done a lot of work on the systems in this boat, the plumbing, the handling. As you see, the wing is much higher than in 1983. Jets music pulling out onto the infield now. Todd Yarling at the wheel. Oh, Rookie of the Year last year. And Jim Cropfeld, Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago, driving this particular boat, the Budweiser. A brand new boat will be coming out for the Budweiser next year, being built in Seattle by designer Ron Jones. And the Renault built by John Steinecker out of Detroit. There's the distance between your first and second place boats. So it looks like, oh, look at this now. The vertical stabilizer on the left side of this boat for Scott Pierce has collapsed. And as you can see, the horizontal stabilizer is barely holding on. But here comes your leader and your winner for Heat 2B. Milner Irvin out of Coral Gables, Florida, near Miami. Driving for Jerry Shaineth out of Detroit. The Miss Renault winner of Heat 2B, another 400 points for the Renault. Those 400 points gives Renault 700 for the day, tied with the Budweiser and Jim Cropfeld. Risley's Express at 450 and Chet's Music Shop at 169. Let's join Jim now with the winning owner and driver in Heat 2B.
Happy crew down here. Milner Irvin, the driver. Jerry Shaineth, the owner. First win of 1984. Satisfied?
Pretty nice, Jim. It's nice to be out there and race. I'd kind of like to have the Budweiser with us, so we would have had a good race.
Jerry, how do you feel?
Somebody said today started to look like Houston for the Renault again, and I can't believe it, but things are certainly going our way, and the boat is running very good. And Milner probably had to have the best start I've seen in years, I'll tell you.
And the crew chief and crew getting ready for the final heat. Up to you, Don.
Scotty, first of all, what happened on the tail?
It just fell off. It took quite a pounding, and I noticed it had fallen off, so I was just trying to get it finished. You know, the engine's fine. It's just the tail fell off, and that could have been a real bad problem. So, you know, I was trying to get it into the final. I think we did accomplish that. So.
Down here, we seem to have a meeting going on. I hate to interrupt you, Jim Harvey, just for a second, if you will. Everything running okay with the Squire?
Yes, we're just making an engine change, and we're considering running a different propeller for the final heat.
Okay, what about you, Mickey? Now, you've seen the show them the short way around the course. Hope to continue in the final.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good day so far. If our luck holds, hopefully we can do it in the final. Bud's going to be out there, and we all know how tough they are, so we're going to have to really be on the ball.
Well, thanks very much for letting us interrupt this high-level meeting just before the final. Now let's go over to the Budweiser, where Don is standing by.
Jim, we're over here now with crew chief Dave Culley with the Budweiser. Dave, what exactly is it? Strictly an engine problem in the last heat?
Yeah, we've had trouble with that engine in Syracuse, New York. We didn't have a chance to test it here. We still think it's a magneto problem.
Think this is old reliable now for the final?
Well, yeah, this is old reliable. This one runs pretty good, and we had trouble with the first engine, so we changed for the second heat and ran that engine, and we saved this engine for the final.
Okay, Dave, thanks for it. Now let's go back over to Jim. He's at Renault. It's going well for them over there.
Anything for you, Don, even to climb up near a hot engine with Jim Kurth of the Renault. Everything going to be all right?
Everything's okay. We're just checking it over and going right back out.
You were losing a little oil last time out.
Yeah, we lost some this time, and we'll lose some next time, too. There's nothing we can do. We got a leak in fitting.
You're pleased with the progress, though?
It's coming along.
Final heat is coming right along. As Jim Kurth says, all the boats are ready to go. Let's go back up to the starting line, and you, Don.
All right, Jim, we've heard from some of the men who make these sleds run. There's Mickey Riemann, the driver for the Miss Squire shop. Jim Harvey helping out. Jim Cropfeld of the Budweiser.
Have a nice ride, Chief.
Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault. Some of the gladiators for today's final. We'll have it in a minute. Don Poyer along with Jim Henrig, and now the final. The climax of today's racing, the Squire shop with the most points, followed by Budweiser, Renault, Speedy Printing, American Speedy Printing, Executone Telephones, and Risley's Express. Points mean nothing in the winner-take-all final heat. Officials for today's racing, the head man, Mike Noonan out of Kentucky. People working with him, Paul McKee, Gene Whip, Fred Alter. Also in the turns, Bill Noonan and Hank Kosciuszko. And all boats are started for this, the final of the day for Budweiser's Thunder on the Ohio 6. It's the Squire Shop way on the inside. In lane number 2 is the Budweiser. American Speedy Printing on the way outside. Lane 3 is the Miss Renault. The Squire, the Budweiser, and the Renault in the first 3 positions, respectively. Mickey Riemann, he's been there all day in his first 2 heat victories in lane number 1. But look who's right next to him on his outside hip, the Miss Budweiser. There goes the Renault, American Speedy Printing. And around the turn, the acceleration of that engine they call Old Reliable for the Budweiser. Look at the acceleration as Jim Cropfeld puts his foot to the floor and it accelerates down the backstretch. The Budweiser in first place in lane number 2. The Squire Shop in second place. Mickey Riemann moving up. Good race here for third and fourth place. American Speedy Printing on the outside. Renault on the inside. The Budweiser with Jim Cropfeld going after his 6th victory in the unlimited level. The Budweiser in first place, coming around to complete lap number 1. Budweiser, first place, second place, Squire Shop, Mickey Riemann. Speed for the Budweiser, 124.8 miles per hour. He's hauling. 117 for the Squire Shop. The Budweiser back to the west turn now as he goes around past that dog leg main straightaway. Coming around the turn, the skid fin digging in, some 4 tons of water being thrown up by that skid fin and propeller for the Budweiser. Lots of water to try to go around. American Speedy Printing. Oh, he's slowed way down. Looks like Ron Snyder's got some problems. Here's the second place boat, and there's the third, Milner Irvin. Risley's has gone dead in the water. That's Scott Pierce driving. So moving into fourth place is the Executone Telephone. But back on top of the pile is the Budweiser with Jim Cropfeld aboard out of Cincinnati, Ohio, in first place here on the Ohio River in Evansville, Indiana. The Budweiser. Lap speed 120 miles per hour. Second place, Mickey Riemann and the Squire Shop. Third place, Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault. Fourth place, Executone Telephones and George Johnson. As you see, pretty rough up there on the east turn. The Budweiser back to the west turn. Of course, they want to get a lot of national points now. After missing New York, they've got to catch up. This boat here, the Squire Shop, a good chance of taking the lead in national points with a good performance today in the final. There you see the Budweiser streaking down the back chute. Jim Cropfeld out of Cincinnati, a Buffalo Company owner. One of the sporting, gamest drivers around. He was Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago when he went to work for Bernie Little. Bernie Little hoping to get possibly his 47th all-time victory today. Jerry Shane is the owner of this boat, the Miss Renault. Turbo Allison Charge with a raised wing over last year. This is the brand new boat for George Johnson, the driver, and Executone Telephone. They're in fourth place. Back to first place in the Budweiser. It is a little choppier out here now on the Ohio River, but that boat very heavy with those powerful Griffin engines. Shouldn't be any concern for Cropfeld. Back to Milner Irvin in that light Stoddicker design and built boat out of Detroit, Michigan. He's in third place. The Budweiser out on top as he comes around now the east turn, the open end down here. The Budweiser with Jim Cropfeld in full control as you see that rooster tail a-flying as it comes down the main chute, that dog leg, main straightaway, past the start-finish line. He's not letting up that much, 117 miles per hour. Second place, Squire Shop and Mickey Riemann. Third place, the Renault and Eve Milner Irvin. They call him Mr. Clean. The Budweiser rolling along. The Bud in good control. Jim Cropfeld, as I said, going after victory number 6 here at the unlimited level. Back to Mickey Riemann at the Squire Shop. If he picks up another 300 points here in this final, he will take the national point lead, as a matter of fact. The Budweiser will move ever closer in the chase after missing New York. They had 1,200 points coming into today's race. There's the Renault again with the Milner Irvin. Mickey Riemann. Down the back chute they go on this, the final lap of the afternoon here in the finals of the Budweiser Thunder on the Ohio 6. Jim Cropfeld bringing it home here for what he hopes will be the 6th victory in his career with the Unlimited. The Budweiser wins it here on the Ohio in Evansville. Second place, Mickey Riemann, your new national point leader. And third place, Milner Irvin and the Miss Renault. Fourth place, Executone Telephone's George Johnson. So as the boats return to the pits, here's how the day stood. The Budweiser taking first place and getting back in the hunt in the national points race. The Squire Shop second place and is the new national points leader. Renault coming in third, Executone Telephones fourth, American Speedy Printing fifth, and number 6 for Risley's Express. Incidentally, here's what ruined and maybe ended Rod Snyder's day. Suddenly, on the right side as he was going into the turn, there you see a thrown rod in that turbocharged Allison brought a halt to any action for American Speedy Printing in the final. We'll return for a comment from the winning owner and driver in just a moment. Hats off to the Budweiser and driver Jim Kropfeld, picking up victory number 6 in his unlimited hydroplane career. Jim Hendrick has a comment from both Jim and owner Bernie Little.
Well, happiness is coming back after missing a race and winning, I would believe, Bernie Little.
Yes, it is, Jim. When you have a crew that the Budweiser has with Dave Cully and all those fellas driving clear to Seattle and back, putting that boat together, and they put the old reliable engine in, and a driver like Jim Kropfeld can't do nothing but be a winner.
Jim, you seem to improve as the day went on. You went faster in the final. What's the reason?
Well, you know, we had the problems from Syracuse, and we had a new rudder, new propellers all weekend. The boat handled differently than I've ever driven it, so I just kind of edged myself up to top speed, and by the last heat we were I got kind of used to the boat, and we just went out and ran. No problems at all.
No doubt about it. Budweiser the winner of Thunder on the Ohio 6, third in the Budweiser series, and we congratulate you both. And that's a wrap up from here down the pits. Back up to you, Don.